Just as the clock struck 12:01 a.m. on February 14th, the Department of Homeland Security entered a partial shutdown. The U.S. Congress failed to clear the 60-vote Senate threshold to keep the agency funded, and lawmakers left Washington without a deal, leaving a critical national security department in limbo. The White House and Democratic leaders had been discussing immigration enforcement policy after the shocking killing of 2 U.S. citizens by federal agents in Minnesota last month, but failed to reach an agreement. As a result, the department's funding was delayed, leading to the partial shutdown of the DHS. The Senate failed to pass the 60-vote threshold required to pass the DHS appropriations bill, and lawmakers left Washington over the weekend. The shutdown of DHS comes amid heightened national debate in the U.S. over the role of federal immigration agencies and how they operate. At the heart of the deadlock is the ICE action in Minnesota. Deadly killings of Alex Pretti and Renee in Minneapolis last month rocked the entire country. 37-year-old mother of 3 Renee was shot dead in her car by an ICE agent in Minneapolis on January 7th. Another American citizen, Alex Pretti, an intensive care nurse, was shot by federal agents while trying to help other protesters on January 24th. This triggered never-before-seen large-scale protests across the country. Democrats, too, drew a red line. They said that they would not support the approval of further funding for DHS unless the new restrictions on federal immigration operations are put in place. The Democrats have called for reduced patrols, a prohibition on ICE officers using face masks while conducting operations, and the need for a court order before they may enter private property. While the Republicans have agreed to agents wearing body cameras, they have resisted other proposals, including agents being required to obtain judicial warrants signed by a judge before entering private property. The closures will be strictly confined to agencies under DHS, in contrast to the historic 43-day shutdown that occurred last October. The only organizations impacted are those that fall under the purview of DHS, including the Transportation Security Administration, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, CBP, and ICE. ICE and CBP operations are deemed essential services, falling under Trump's big, beautiful bill that guarantees their funding. Some says that the work of ICE and CBP will mostly continue unabated, as Trump's tax and spending cut law from 2025 provided ICE with about $75 billion and CBP with about $65 billion, money they can keep tapping for the Republicans' deportation operations. Other services, like the Transportation Security Administration, TSA, the Secret Service, and the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, are expected to face disruptions. Until Congress approves funding, thousands of government employees, from disaster relief workers to airport security guards, will either be placed on furlough or be required to work unpaid. Remember, Trump acquiesced to Democrats' request that Homeland Security funding be stripped from a broader spending package to allow more time for negotiation over demands for changes to immigration enforcement, such as a code of conduct for federal agents and a requirement that officers show identification. As congressional funding for DHS stalled, a reporter asked Kristi if she still ran the department.
Since returning to office, President Trump has made election integrity a priority. He's made it a cornerstone of his Make America Great Again agenda. And the truth is that our election system needs a lot of work. From state to state throughout the country, we see challenges and things that can be improved on. And although the Constitution gives states the primary responsibility for running their elections, Congress also gives authorities and duties to the federal government. Now, as the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, those authorities lie within my department, and the responsibility lies with me. Right now, America has a golden opportunity, a wonderful opportunity to show that we are serious about securing our elections and that we care about making sure that we preserve our sacred republic. Earlier this week, the House of Representatives passed the SAVE Act. This is federal legislation that does some common sense, straightforward things. First of all, it requires a photo ID in order to vote in federal elections. It also requires proof of citizenship in order to register to vote. And it requires states to remove non-citizens from their voter rolls. These measures are extremely popular with American citizens. American people have common sense, and they want to see reforms like this put into their elections. This kind of election security is something that the government owes to the American people, and it's something that we, the American people, owe to ourselves. We need to pass the Save America Act. We need to pass it today and sign it into law to ensure that the integrity of our election system stays in place for years to come. And I would say that many people believe that it may be one of the most important things that we need to make sure we trust is reliable, and that when it gets to election day that we've been proactive to make sure that we have the right people voting, electing the right leaders to lead this country through the days that we have, knowing that people can trust it. That's why you're here. For me, I do press conferences because I want to be transparent and let you ask questions and have conversations. But I hope that you do recognize that in the past, your state has been an absolute disaster on elections, that your leaders have failed you dramatically by not having systems that work, by disenfranchising Americans who wanted to vote. They had to stand in lines for hours because machines failed or software failed. There's no state that could use more improvement than Arizona. And you should be asking all of your leaders what they're doing to fix the system. What are they doing to make sure that individuals in this state can trust that their vote is going to be taken, that it's going to be counted, and that it's going to matter to make sure the right people are in charge. You know, this was a joint agency task force mission that was undertaken, and we're continuing to work on the communication through that, but recognize we're grateful for the partnership of the Department of War and the FAA as we go forward.
Secretary, are you still in charge of the mass deportation campaigns, or is Homeland?
I'm still in charge of the Department of Homeland Security. That includes all 23 different agencies under our umbrella, including ICE and CBP, but also FEMA, TSA, Secret Service, the Coast Guard, many, many more.
Earlier, Democratic Representative Hakeem Jeffries accused Trump and Republicans of deciding that they have zero interest in getting ICE under control. For now, DHS is partially dark. Congress remains gridlocked, and America's immigration enforcement battle has entered a new and uncertain phase.
It appears increasingly likely that at midnight tonight, DHS funding for the Coast Guard, for FEMA, and for TSA will lapse. Why? Because Donald Trump and Republicans have decided that they have zero interest in getting ICE under control. The American people know ICE is out of control and that they need to be reined in. And Democrats are working hard to do just that. In this country, immigration enforcement should be fair, it should be just, and it should be humane. That's not what's taking place right now in the United States of America, where law-abiding immigrant families are being violently targeted and American communities are being brutalized. Dramatic changes are needed at the Department of Homeland Security in terms of ICE and CBP. Absent that, Republicans have decided to shut down parts of the federal government once again. I'm here, ready, willing, and able to have a conversation with anyone, anytime, any place. That's always been the Democratic posture. Mike Johnson has once again sent House Republicans home. And we've drawn a hard line in the sand on behalf of the American people, and we're not going to allow the Congress to cross it. ICE needs to be dramatically reformed. Period. Full stop. They're not targeting violent felons who are here illegally. The president made that promise. He lied to the American people. So it's my expectation that at some point, Democrats in the House and the Senate jointly will respond to the latest unserious offer formally, and then it will once again be in the hands of Donald Trump and Republicans to decide what's next. And we'll respond to the latest that was sent over by the White House. Again, it falls short. And by the way, the notion that Tom Homan or any of these other folks can just say things and expect that all is good as a result of it, no, we're not down with any of that. Every single change needs to be ironclad and part of the law. The notion, and we want the American people to understand this, that your taxpayer dollars in the one big ugly bill were used to provide massive tax breaks for Republican billionaire donors and to give DHS a $191 billion slush fund, which includes $75 billion to ICE, being used to brutalize you. Republicans did that in their one big ugly bill. And the reason why we're confronting the possibility of a shutdown in a few hours is because Republicans are unwilling to enact change that is dramatic. We believe any changes should be bold, should be meaningful, should be dramatic, should be transformational, should get ICE completely and totally under control.